But first, our first guest. This guy is remarkably funny. He's had multiple Netflix specials, multiple comedy specials. You see him on a ton of really funny podcasts as well. He's been a regular on the Joe Rogan Experience. He's currently on tour, so you can see him in your area right now. Wrong Side of History tour. He's all over social media. He's got more than 600,000 followers on Instagram. He's everywhere doing everything, and I'm so pleased to have him here on the show. Ari Shaffir joins us here on Watch D.A. Live. Ari, how you doing, man?
Buddy, thanks a lot for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. I know you're a big sports fan because you've talked about going out to Vegas for round one of the NCAA tournament, the bonanza that we just had. Did you get to go out to Vegas this year for the last couple of days?
I did not. I was in Charlotte during that Carolina game and the Tennessee game.
Right.
And, you know what never gets mentioned in sports is those guys that dress up fully for their team and go on the road and then have to just walk out drunk into the streets. I saw some Tennessee fan, full orange and white checker. Thank God they won, because you don't want to be crying with white and orange checkered overalls.
It's
crying, drunk, barfing on yourself.
It's like when you see a Raider fan that's dressed in spikes and black and silver face paint or whatever, and you go, that guy's got to go home. He's got to drive his sedan home, park in the garage, and go take his spikes off once he gets inside after the Raiders lose.
Yeah, that face paint's gonna like be crying. You know, it's gonna be all runny with tears. He's like, "Why are we doing it again this year?" It's just like not the Raiders. They need more press. Those losing fans. They gave it their all. Giants, Sooners, cowboy hat. And they're just like,
right.
What are you gonna do with that?
Did you fill out a bracket this year?
I did. I had you guys as the team, as Purdue.
Oh yeah, is that right? You had Purdue going all the way,
or no? Is that your guy?
No, I'm not a Purdue fan, but it's funny. It's funny because Purdue is like the team that everybody expects to choke. Everyone's just like waiting for the choke, and you're going the other way. You're saying no, you got them all the way to the title game.
Yeah, they always have the Carolinas. It's too easy. It's too hacky a pick. You know, it's like a Manchester U fan. It's like you got to go the opposite way.
That's right.
And you will get disappointed. And then when it happens, you're like, what was I thinking?
Yeah, everybody's bracket seems to be blown up because Kentucky lost early and a couple other double-digit seeds moved on. So that was pretty nuts. Baseball season is already kind of right around the corner as well. And you're an avowed Yankee fan, right?
Avowed Yankee fan. Oh, golly, it's disappointing. I mean, everyone says it's the evil empire, them and the Cowboys. And it's just like, what are you talking about? Since when? We suck. We suck. I get it. Highest payroll, all that shit. Sorry, I'm trying not to curse.
It's fine. We're on YouTube. You can do whatever you want. Yeah. Yeah. Let it roll.
Yeah, they suck, dude. His Judge is going to get hurt again. Everything's going to be worse. There's an aging team. They just need to blow it up. They need to get rid of all these old guys they signed.
It's amazing because a Yankee fan, once upon a time, certainly the 90s, 2000s, just expects to win. Everything's going to be fine. Everybody that they sign is going to be great. They're going to win titles, Jeter, etc. Now a Yankee fan such as yourself expects the darkness, expects the collapse. That's quite the difference.
It's so much different. It sucks. I'm not in the position. I'm not in this position. Dude, we had a run. We had Stanton's run. It was like we were supposed to win 2 titles during that run, you know? And then maybe go to another World Series. And then it just didn't happen. What are you going to do? It's just like your crops failed. Now we're stuck with these old players. It should have been a retire. Should have been like Cal Ripken's last year where everyone's just like, it's all right.
Garrett Cole now could have Tommy John. People are worried about that. Injuries once again around the Yankees. So we're not even at opening day yet. You're already punting on the season, huh?
We should have got the Shohei. We should have got one of these freaking Japanese players. Look at any of them. Come on. There's Japanese people in New York.
Yeah, but Shohei apparently is like a degenerate gambler, so you still want him?
That's why he fits there. He would have been in underground card games. He would have been doing blow, not being tested. He would have loved New York. LA's only got Thai food. It's not even a spot for him.
You have a travel podcast called Be Trippin, and it's hysterical, and you love travel. And, you know, for me, I go around the country covering games and covering events, and so I get to see all these different parts of the country and whatnot, which is pretty phenomenal. But you get to go around the globe for your job and for tours and what have you. So is there a place that you've been recently where you're like, yeah, you know what? I didn't think that was a bucket list, but now it's become a bucket list. Like, you were so shocked or surprised that it was as awesome as it was.
Yeah, maybe DR, Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know anything about it. And then my buddy Ian Laura, who's Dominican, and I just had no idea anything about it. He goes, "You got to go to a baseball game." I'm like, "Is that big there?" And he's like, "Bro." And I went to see Lisi versus, they share a stadium, the two capital, whatever city, and they go so nuts. Everyone's drinking rum. They all party and dance. There was a blackout, and the first thing that come on, because they're poor, the first thing that come on was a sound system, and nobody cared. Everyone was just dancing and drinking rum.
Yeah,
it was wild.
Yeah,
it was a 7:00 game, and I got there like 6:45 to get tickets. The line to get tickets was around the block, and at 7:30, I'm like, I gotta go in, and then I just scalped.
Yeah.
By the way, like $7. Like,
amazing.
And then you get in, and you're like, the game's not gonna start for another hour. I'm like, I thought it was 7:00. Like, that's what we say.
That sounds very DR. That sounds extraordinarily DR to say, yeah, it's just what we say. It'll start when it starts.
Do you get that when you go for sports to see like other countries where you're like, oh, they do it differently here?
Absolutely. And I love seeing it like that. I mean, I went to the DR once as well, and I thought the coolest thing was when you step off the airplane, they serve you rum like for free in the airport. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And then, I went to a soccer game in Peru once, and half of the stadium was cordoned off with barbed wire because that's where they were going to put the intense fans, the ones that they couldn't mingle with the rest of the fans. I'm like, wow, we think Philly is tough. This stadium actually has barbed wire to separate the fans because they're worried about that type of violence. I'm like, that's a different type of violence.
Yeah, nobody goes harder than soccer fans. No. Away soccer supporters. My brother lives in Europe, and he takes his kid there, and then he's filming, with the smoke things going off, and he's taking his phone out. And people are like, hey, no phones here. And he's like, why? He's like, because we're doing illegal shit. And you're like, all right. He's like, all right, fair.
You're on tour now through the spring, the summer, etc. Do you have a city that you really like going through that you're going to be going through on this tour?
Yeah, Toronto. It's the first time I've been there in a long time, since before the pandemic. So I'm pretty excited about that. They always rule. That's another one too, where it's like people give you sports secrets. They're just like at Blue Jays games. I was like, I remember once going there and I was like, I'm going to buy a good ticket. I'm finally doing better. And my friends are like, no, $10 ticket, move all the way down. There's no one shows up to these. No reason to spend your money on the same.
Now, one of the funniest bits you've ever done is when you hid drugs in the places, the arenas, the concert halls, etc., that you were performing in.
Yeah.
So, and you gave tricks and tips and clues on your Twitter. So your followers were like doing a scavenger hunt through your, where you were performing to find the drugs that were hidden in the bathroom, under a sink, under a seat, etc. Will you be doing that on this tour?
Weed's too legal now. No, I was doing it when I was in LA. So I would go with Rogan to Joe Rogan would do announcing for the UFC, and we go to the weigh-ins, and they'd cordon off half of it for the fighters and the other half for the fans. So I just had full access to half the stadium, and I'm just walking around looking for places to hide it, and then just writing clues. And you see it in the stands. There was like 200 people doing it. I'd start launching out clues, and you see a bunch of people run off. You'd be like, look in the upper level, and then you see them run up the steps and go left. And then one time I was checking. I think it was at the MGM in Vegas, and I went to see if someone found it, and some usher goes, "What you're looking for is no longer here." I was like, just like pot edibles. That's so great.
That's a success. When the usher is like, "What you're looking for, they've already found," and there's been a dozen other people looking for it. That's when you know it's been a raging success. That's amazing. Are you going to watch the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight coming up this summer?
No, that's a novelty fight.
Okay.
No, plus boxing sucks.
So you're way more MMA, way more UFC.
Once you watch MMA a little bit, I don't even follow that clip. Once you watch that, then you turn on boxing afterwards, and it's like, it's like listening to a great Outkast album, and suddenly you hear some flute. And you're like, this isn't as good. What are we talking about here?
What 3,000 have to do that? Why? Why do you have that? I've been waiting years for Andre to put out something else, and he gave us a flute.
Oh my God, who would have thought Big Boy was the one who lasted?
Right.
so dumb. It was so dumb. And then people go, oh, it's actually pretty good. I'm like, you don't know anything about flute music. You can't comment on this. Shut up.
That's right. That's right. Ari Shaffir joins us here on Watch D.A. Live. Once again, the tour dates are all over his website, arishafir.com. Just check it out there. Tickets are on sale now. And I think one of the funniest things that you're known for is when was it a sativa hit that you took out of a bong and then you just like lived underwater for 6 months? And this is kind of like a trippy thing, the idea that you could be so high for like an hour or 12 minutes or whatever and feel like you lived a life underwater, an alternative life. I love it when Rogan was like picking at this because they're like, let's talk about time travel here. And I was like, this is a wild conversation, but that's like everywhere when you hit on any of your stuff, it's like that's like the first 5 videos that come up for you.
Really? Oh, nice, bro. You did your research. I like it. It's stuff I haven't talked about a lot lately. Yeah. First of all, shout out drugs. That would never let anybody down. No, I mean, whatever. If you're pregnant, but anyway, everybody else go for it. And then, yeah, it was nuts. I got to like the line of 2 fucked up. It was salvia. It's a different drug.
Oh, right.
And the congressmen didn't know about it yet, so they were like, they didn't know enough to make it illegal. It might be illegal now. And I took a big enough hit to get me like on the line. And my friends were like, you're a fucking pussy. Do it for real. And so then I took a massive hit and then just blasted. I was just in another dimension. Yeah, I was literally living underwater in an underwater world. I made friends. I had a job. I had a lady. We broke up. It was a bad breakup. I had to avoid the underwater bars.
The underwater breakups usually are tough.
Yeah, I try to be like, I'm fine. My gills are great. I'm doing great. How are your gills? And just like living this life. And then when I came back, and my friends are watching me. I did it on a podcast, on Red Band's podcast. And then I was just like, maybe it's Triplets, whatever. But Sam Tripoli I'm swimming up to the shore and I just see this guy, Sam Tripoli, and I'm like, what's a human doing here underwater? And then it's like slowly coming back, and they gave me some water, and I'm drinking. I was like, I only know how to breathe this. I don't know how to drink it. Dude, it was so fun.
That is so trippy, so unbelievably trippy. And it's amazing because you grew up in an Orthodox Jewish household. And so you've done a lot of content about this, a lot of jokes about this. You've spoken openly about this. And I think we're celebrating Purim right now, if I'm not mistaken, because on the radio side, I work over at SiriusXM, and my executive producer was telling me all about Purim last week. So you want to tell us what Purim is all about and if you're celebrating right now?
It's our Halloween. It's Jew Halloween.
Okay.
It's based on like we got the king that was supposed to kill all the Jews. We got him too drunk to remember to kill all the Jews. So we're supposed to get drunk enough. It's such a great holiday, but you can't tell the difference between somebody and somebody else. And then all the kids just dress up as their favorite characters. And I got to be honest, in the sports world, who's doing it the best is Kim Mulkey. Enough credit for those outfits. I don't know what the fuck she's doing, but it's wild and it's different every time. If I had that, that'd be all I wore. That same flower thing would be all I wore. And she's got 20 of those outfits. If the Washington Post hit piece is, I don't think you're stylish enough, then I would say, yeah, Kim, bury that.
That's what it looks like when you take a huge rip of salvia, is like that outfit is what you would wear under the sea. That's what you would wear under the ocean. It looks like something the Snorks would wear or something like that.
If you took a hit of acid and went to an LSU game, eventually you turn to your friend. If you're sitting like close, you're like, am I seeing that? A real outfit, or is she covered in flowers? What is that Taylor she has? It's nuts. You see her calling for like people's heads, and she's like, we should fight more.
Yeah. What coach says that?
It's so great.
It's so great. She's amazing. She really is. So the tour is coming through. Charleston, South Carolina, Hoover, Alabama, Nashville coming up next week as well. We've got a bunch of listeners in Nashville, Huntsville, Alabama, Memphis, Lexington in a week and a half or so in a week, Cleveland. I mean, you're all over the place.
All over. I'm taking a special in Washington, D.C. at the end of April.
Oh, fantastic. Are there tickets still available for that one?
Yeah, we just added a show on Friday, the 26th of April, and still a couple left for the 27th.
Oh, nice. So we have a bunch of listeners in Northern Virginia and the D.C. area. So if you want to go check out the taping of a special with Ari, You can get tickets right now. It's at the Capitol Turnaround, Friday, April 26th, Saturday, April 27th, as part of his tour right now. So that would be very cool. And you're going out to Australia as well this year?
Yeah, I'm going to a State of Origin game. You know anything about that?
No, tell me.
Okay, so I was traveling. I was in Guatemala, and this guy in a hostel was from Australia. And he goes, "Do you know anything about rugby?" I'm like, "No." And he started breaking it down. And he goes, "There's this thing called the State of Origin, which is just New South Wales, like the whole region, versus maybe Queensland. It's pretty much north versus south. And they have the best rugby players in the world. And they all play in New Zealand and the West Indies and England and stuff like that. And they all come home. It's a 3-game series. And teammates, let's say in New Zealand, are now enemies. And they literally are punching each other in the face.
Wow.
Because you're like, I play for the North, you play for the South, eat a dick." And it's a 3-game series. And he told me about that. And I was like, I'm going to hold my Australian tour until I can do that.
Oh, it's awesome. So you actually scheduled it to line up to go see one of these.
Yeah, that's the best thing about doing better is that you can choose your schedule.
Right. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'll go in the dead of winter there. It's like I hate missing the summer, but for that I will go. I'm going to go to the Sydney one. I'm stoked on that. I'm stoked on that.
Oh, that is phenomenal. That is absolutely phenomenal. Well, check him out. The tour is all over the place right now. It's Wrong Side of History tour coming to a city near you. Also, go on any one of his social channels. He's got a lot of the tour dates, his specials as well. Ari Shaffir joining us here on the show, man. I hope your bracket's okay, and if not, we'll just we'll celebrate Kim Mulkey style, okay?
Who's your team? By the way, yeah, who is your team? Who you got this year?
I graduated from Syracuse, but they didn't make the tournament, so I've got Houston winning the whole thing. That's my bracket right now. I got Houston.
I was thinking about them.
Yeah, I got the Cougs.
The cool thing about going to Vegas and going for that opening, everybody should go. Opening round. It's 4 days. It's just nonstop games, and then just get drunk afterwards because also West Coast, so it's like it ends relatively early.
Totally.
And then you get opened up on gambling. You realize you just keep going up, and then it's like there's no game, and you realize Colgate women are plus 32.
Yeah, right.
They got to cover 32. Right. It's so great to see a game on the TV too, and you didn't bet on that one, and you see everyone going, "Come on!" Like it's a 14-point game with 30 seconds of when like it's got to be a point spread over and over and under. It's got to be one of those, and everybody gets behind it.
You know you're deep when you're in Vegas, and then suddenly a team's line comes across that you didn't even know had a team.
Yeah.
School, and you're like, wow, that's a team? Okay, that's it. Yeah, I like that number. I'd like that number, actually. Yeah, and you start talking yourself into it, like the Colgate women plus 23. You're like, no, I think they got a really good backcourt. You know, I Googled it.
With the Google, I'm like, come on, Nancy Smithson.
Yeah, exactly.
It's great.
It's a lot of fun, man. Thanks, Ari. Appreciate it, buddy.
Buddy, nice to meet you. This is
you
great.
Too, man.
If you
ever
ever want to talk travel, come into New York. Come on my podcast.
Right on. Appreciate that, man. Absolutely. We'll reach out again. Okay, bud?
Okay, for sure.
Okay, sounds good. Ari Shaffir joining us here on Watch D.A Live. That was awesome. So good to have him here on the show, and he's a huge sports fan, so we definitely wanted to have him on. He loves Vegas, opening weekend of the NCAA tournament, so that was awesome, and he's talked about that with his specials, et cetera, and other podcasts as well, so we got to have Ari back on the show.